Hi, Year 3. This time we're going to be having a look at some poetry. And I love poetry because it's playing with words. Some of the best things about poetry is you don't get in trouble for full sentences. You can mix the words around. And really, this thing I've got at the top here, our cover page, is kind of a poem. It's words that are all about something, which is poetry. It has a lot of ideas in it. It's a way of using words as an artwork, and that's pretty cool. So, we're going to have a play with it today. I hope you enjoy and you get to have some fun with some poetry this term. I think it's fun, and I think it's a great way to finish the term for our writing tasks. So, today we're going to be thinking about poems and poetry, and you're going to need some paper, and it can be lined, it can be your book, or it can be a blank piece of paper. You'll need some pencils, and you will need your mind warmed up with lots of good ideas. So, what do you think a poem is? On the slides, there's a video for you to watch, and this is our very first activity. Our very first activity is making a mind map. So, you'll need to watch that video of me. I might even see if I can play it. Can I? I can. Hi, Year 3. For your first activity today, you're going to get a piece of paper. Now, if you are using a lined book, that's fine as well. You can use your lined book or lined paper. It doesn't have to be paper like this. But I'm going to get you to fold it in half, or you can just write the short date if you're using your book at school. And in the middle of one of those pages, I'm going to get you to write the word poetry and put it in a cloud like this. So if we sound it out in syllables, it would be po-et-tree, poetry. And around the outside, I want you to write some. So this is kind of a mind map. It's going to be a mind map. I want you to draw a line and draw some of your ideas about what poetry is. So this is where you're doing your brainstorming. Once you have 6 ideas, 6 good ideas of what poetry might have or how it might be different to other kinds of writing, I want you to click on the link below here, because the link below is where you're going to write 1 or 2 of your ideas on a Padlet, and you get to share your friends' ideas. Now, make sure you write your name on your idea, because otherwise we don't know who it is. So you're going to write your name on there, and you're going to write your idea of what you think poetry is. But first, you need to do your brainstorming. First job. So, Year 3, you might like to pause the video here, or you can go through the slides in a minute. You need to do your brainstorm first, and then you need to click on this link down here and share your ideas on a Padlet. You'll be able to see your friends there. So you might like to choose a different one that you picked that isn't up there yet if you've got one. And you can get some great ideas from your friends too. Let me just pause this guy. Pause Mrs. Winter going again. 2 Mrs. Winters. Okay, have a look at this piece of writing here. What type of writing is it? I can see a heading. I can see subheadings. I can see questions and information underneath. Now, because it's information, this is, wonder what your guess is, an information report on Fantastic Forces. What about this one? What kind of writing is this one? We did a lot of these last term. It's a procedure, how to do something. It's got the ingredients, it's got the steps, it's got pictures and a title. What about this one here? This is part of something. What kind of writing is this? I wonder what you're thinking in your mind. If you were thinking a story or a narrative, I think you are right. Great job. What type of writing is this next one? You might know this one. You might already be singing it in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. 6, 7, 8, line 10. Then I let it go again. Why did you let it go? Because it met my finger so. Which finger did it bite? This little finger on my right. You've got some questions to answer about that piece of writing. So if you've done your poetry like this, you can flip over to the back, or you can use some lined paper. We've got a few questions today you'll need to answer. If you've got your book, you can just write in there. First question is, what type of text is this? It's not an information report. It's not a procedure. The next one says, question 2, how do you know? Question 3, who has this text been written for? Question 4. Why do you think this text was written? Why did someone make it up? And what other text do you know that is similar to this one? I'm sure if you think back, you know some other texts or writings that are like this. So I'd love to see what your answers are for that one. You've got a little video to watch. We're not going to watch that all together here, but you can click on the slides and have a watch of that one. Now, we've got some writing. Tuning in, what exactly is a poem? Have you ever thought about what makes a poem a poem? Maybe you have, but you probably haven't. The next 5 slides contain short text, short pieces of writing. Read each text and then discuss whether, we can't do it as a class unfortunately, but whether or not you consider this is a poem or not. So on your paper, you can write number 6. And this writing is entitled The Shopping List. Is it a poem? Why or why not? So question 6, I'm going to read it to you. You can read along with me. Today at the shops, I need to buy apples, bananas, ice cream, apple pie, carrots and milk, berries and meat, bread, spaghetti, and also a treat. I wonder what you think. Is it a poem or not? Next slide, question 7, The Secret of Space. Is this a poem? Why or why not? The wonders of the universe astound me, the never-ending blackness of space. Oh, how I wish I could travel into the unknown and uncover the lost secrets of time. Is it a poem? Yes or no? And why? Why do you think that's a poem, or why do you think it's not a poem? Question 8, snakes. Snakes slither along slippery surfaces using the side-winding method. The snake spears its head forward and the rest of its body follows. Some snakes can ascend sandy slopes without slipping while side-winding. Now, what about that one? Do you think that's a poem or not? You'll need to write that down. We're going to check your thinking. Now, when you have a look at those pieces of writing, the ones that were poems, what did they have about them that was the same? So on your page, can you write number 9? And I'd love you to write an answer down. And what was the different about the ones that wasn't a poem? And I wonder if you went back to your mind map now, if you might add some other things about poetry and what makes a poem a poem. Now on here, I've got some things that you might find in poetry. Poets sometimes use these things. They might use repetition. That means a sentence that goes over and over and over again. Imagery, they might build up a picture in your mind and use the words in an interesting way, almost like painting a picture with the words. They allow you to use your 5 senses as well to visualize that and really experience it, make it real even though it's not. They use rhyming words. So rhyming words are cat and hat, bat and rat. They're words like round and found and sound. So the end part is the same. The rhythm is a beat. It's almost like it could nearly be a song because it feels like it has a beat and a rhythm to it as you read it. Alliteration. I wonder if you know what that is. Before I tell you, it's where the first letters in the words are the same. Round and round, the ragged rock, the ragged rascal ran. All starting with the letter R. Personification means making something that's an object like it's a person. So what you're doing, if I said the ocean was roaring, it's like it's a living thing. Or if I said the ocean was starving and it was eating away the beach, we know oceans don't eat. So we're giving it qualities of a person. A simile means 2 things that are similar, like each other, but a metaphor says that it is something. He was as big as a house is a simile. A metaphor was he was a house. And onomatopoeia are sound words. Pop, zing, boom. There's some of the painting or the tools that poets use to write their poems. They try and use these things to balance them. You've got to click a link here to click and watch a clip about why people write poetry. And then it's your turn. So you've got 2 poems to write at the end of today. You have to write an acrostic poem and a shape poem. I think you'll do pretty well at these. Now, an acrostic poem, the first letters of the item Each line they spell out the subject. So if I have a look down the bottom, this poem is about space. What's out there? Space. But then every sentence tells us more about space as well. So this artist, if they wrote space down the side, they couldn't have written they couldn't have written seaweed, pineapple, alphabet, cross, elephant, because those things have nothing to do with space. But instead they've written somewhere out there, past the stars, aliens are watching, counting the seconds before entering our world. And you can see there's an exclamation mark on the end. Now, this is one of the cool things. You can see they make sentences, but they're not proper sentences. Somewhere out there. That's not a whole sentence. We haven't finished it. Past the stars. It's not a finished sentence either. So you don't need punctuation in this one, but the start of your sentences need to make a word, and the sentences or the bits after it need to describe it. You need to make sure they're connected somehow. You can pick whatever you like. You could do an animal, you could do a tree, you could do your name. It's up to you how you do that one. And the second poem you're going to do today, the second lot of playing with words, is a shape poem. This is a great one. Shape poem. This is a shape poem. It is about a house. You can see because it's in the shape of a house. As a shape poem, it forms the shape of a house. This is a little house, so it would be a little poem if it were a poem. But it is not because a poet I'm not. It is though. That's why it's a little bit funny. Here's a rainbow one. Red, sweet as honey, bitter as blood. Orange, fluttery as fall, still as a stone. There's those similes we were talking about. Green, rough as a pine cone, smooth as a lake. So they're opposites, rough and smooth, loud and soft, fluttery and still, sweet and bitter. You can see they're using opposites together. Blue, my colour, just like the sky. Indigo, bright as the moon, dark as night. Purple, weak as a flower, strong as courage. And it makes the shape of a rainbow, which is very cool. And it talks about all the different colours that make the rainbow up. And it looks like a rainbow. This one's a star, and you can see they've talked all the words about stars. They've done some ideas and made it in the shape of a star. So if you were doing that one, you might like to draw the outline of a star very lightly in pencil. You can write your poem and then rub out the bit around the outside. That would be a cool way to do it. But you also might like to do your star like this one here and write. So you'd lightly sketch it, very lightly, right around the outside, and then you can rub it out. They've also done in a twist, and you can see it looks like a tornado, which is a pretty cool shape poem as well. So they're your two jobs today, an acrostic poem and a shape poem. The slides will be on here, so you can go through and work through the slides at your own pace, and we can't wait to see your work.